Chapter 241, The Joke's Gone Too Far. Zhang Jinji understood exactly how skilled Zhang Yu and the others were. As the most skilled players of tyrannical ambition, they might not be good enough to be pros, but they weren't so bad that they could be bullied by just anyone. But right now, the four were struggling in the river of lava. They were pretty much being toyed with by their opponents. They were trying their hardest too. Who knew how many times they'd already tried jumping up? The four tried gathering together, separating, diversion tactics, hiding and then popping out, etc. They tried everything, but nothing worked. Their opponents' defenses were impenetrable. Their opponents wanted to wait for them to burn themselves to death in this river of lava. Their health slowly burned away. And as for Zhang Jinji, after leading them through several failed attempts, all he could do was run around. Seeing this, the four players understood that even Zhang Jinji was at wit's end. Seeing that Zhang Jinji was still healing them, even though the four players were already exhausted, all they could do was continue trying to escape. Run! Run far, far away, Zhang Yu shouted. One on each side, the sharpshooter and blade master ran along the banks as far as they could. This was already their final gamble. By splitting far apart, they would leave the cleric's healing range and then there would be no way of coordinating with each other whatsoever. Without the healing from the cleric, they would eventually be burned to death. However, besides this, what other method was left? Zhang Jinji bitterly laughed. He originally wanted to say something, but he stopped himself. Zhang Yu's method truly was stupid. Their opponents had experts and were superior to them in 1v1 scenarios. What Zhang Yu was doing was playing to their opponents' strengths and their weaknesses. But since the situation was already like this and Zhang Yu and the others were still trying hard, it wouldn't be a good idea to stop them. And thus, Zhang Jinji didn't say anything. He continued to heal the members that were in range. Facing the unspecialized Lord Grimm, who could be both close range and long range, he was finally able to witness the ever-changing myriad manifestation umbrella. The two players were gradually getting farther and farther away and their opponents also had two players follow them, Cleansing Mist and Flowing Tree. Everything was as Zhang Jinji expected. This type of tactic hadn't brought anything good to the table. The Blade Master and Sharpshooter were still being suppressed by Cleansing Mist and Flowing Tree just like before. Zhang Jinji sighed. He already knew the battle was already over. Cleansing Mist's bullets fired and the Sharpshooter died, the Blade Master closely following after. Crowd Lover and the Striker were under Endless Night's healing, but they wouldn't be able to stay alive forever. We've lost, Zhang Jinji typed the message into the public chat. Haha, I agree, Yishu replied. Who are you? Zhang Jinji asked. Just as who you think I am, an expert, Yishu said. Zhang Jinji was silent. Yi Chu, Huang Shaoshan, Su Mucheng. These three names had flashed by in his head long ago, but he was a cautious person. If he wasn't 100% certain, he wouldn't be able to easily come to a conclusion. If they really were these three, then Zhang Jinji had to admit that he had played the joke too far this time. Trying to beat those three with just Zhang Yu and the others was impossible. He had originally believed that the coordination and synergy between Zhang Yu and his team were their advantages. But, in the Glory Pro scene, in the 7 completed seasons, Yi Chu and Su Mucheng had won Best Partners 4 times. The 3 times that they hadn't won the award was because Su Mucheng had yet to enter the pro scene. Facing the 2 players with the greatest synergy in the entire pro scene, how could Zhang Yu and his team's synergy be an advantage? Hilarious. If it really was like this, then Zhang Jinji would feel very embarrassed, but he wouldn't be able to take back his assumption. He had intuitively felt that they were Yi Chu and Su Mucheng, but he had no definitive proof. As for that Flowing Tree, his playing completely exposed his god-level skill. But once he got on stage, he quieted down. Before, the reports said that he was very talkative, so why was he quiet now? Were they different people? Talking a lot wasn't his habit, but something he did on and off. Or maybe he really was Huang Shaoshan, but he intentionally hid his specialty? Maybe he doesn't want to be exposed? He's afraid of being seen through? By me? Speaking of this, do they know who I am? When Zhang Jinji thought, he didn't ignore any possibility. He thought, while quietly watching Lord Grimm and the others. Crowd Lover and the Striker had already jumped out but they were still burning. The two were silent, their current moods were obvious. If there's nothing you guys want to talk about, then let's leave, Yishu said. Is that Yichu's voice? Zhang Jinji tried hard to recall. Voice chat wasn't allowed in pro matches, so he wasn't very familiar with Yichu's voice. Lord Grimm, Zhang Yu grinded his teeth. He really wanted to say some bad words. Are we going to meet up again at Line Canyon? Yishu laughed. Zhang Yu really wanted to jump over the river and teach Lord Grimm a lesson, but he didn't move because he clearly knew that he would lose if he talked. You just wait, Zhang Yu threatened. Ha, I'll wait. You can come bet with me anytime you'd like. I welcome you to try again, Yishu said. Let's leave. Zhang Jinji left and the system announced that Lord Grimm's side was the winner. Ha, Zhang Jinji is nothing. I can't help but say that he was too naive to think he'd be able to block me. Did you see my beautiful swordplay? Huang Shaoshan couldn't help but begin chattering once he saw that the other side had left. Yeah, not bad, Yishu said. Not bad? F***ck, let me tell you. At that time, the number of players who could do what I did can't be more than 10, Huang Shaoshan said. I should be one of those 10, no? Yishu asked. Of course. Then I don't understand why you're trying to brag. Let's see who'll win. I'll go and switch accounts, Huang Shaoshan called. Your beautiful swordplay definitely aroused Zhang Jinji's suspicions. But with his personality, he won't come to a conclusion without solid evidence. If you log out of Flowing Tree and go on to Troubling Rain, are you trying to provide him proof? Yishu asked. Huang Shaoshan stared blankly. The assassin Zero Kills also stared blankly. Seeing the large list of items they had won from the info list made him thoroughly stunned. He hadn't noticed that this had been a match with bets. Let's all leave too, Yishu said. That, Zero Kills muttered. He wanted to ask what all those items were about and whether it was split between members. Thanks, brother. I'll gift you this, Yishu prompted a trade with Zero Kills. Zero Kills accepted and looked. The other side had unexpectedly put up a level 30 purple twin-tailed swords. Zero Kills happily accepted it. He hadn't done anything in the match and won a purple weapon. Was such good luck even possible? Zero Kills hadn't yet fully thought it through yet, when the others left. Chapter 242, My Mistake. Tyrannical Ambition's work studio was extremely quiet. Even though there were only 3 players participating inside, the others had all been watching. As the guild leader, Zhang Yu felt somewhat lost after losing. The battle from the start to finish had simply gone too far from what he had expected. With Zhang Jinji's help, he thought that the conflict between Tyrannical Ambition and Lord Grimm in the 10th server would finally end. In the end, not only did the conflict not end, but the conflict escalated. After exiting the field, Zhang Yu had to resist smashing the table. After all, Zhang Jinji had participated in this fight. Becoming furious wouldn't look good for Zhang Jinji. Being thrown into the river of lava and burning to death was a type of noob stomping strategy. We had a higher chance of winning? Zhang Yu silently cursed a few words. He hadn't seen any of the advantages that Zhang Jinji had talked about for them. If Zhang Jinji wasn't Zhang Jinji, he would have started shouting angrily long ago. My mistake, someone suddenly said in the studio. Everyone's gazes shifted to the speaker, Zhang Jinji. I vastly underestimated the other side's strength. Whether it was Lord Grimm, Flowing Tree, or Cleansing Mist, all of their individual skills are very high, Zhang Jinji said. In that match, just the 3 of them were enough, the other 2 weren't important. How high exactly? Zhang Yu couldn't help but ask. Maybe we should try to further understand their skill, Zhang Jinji said. Further understand? Bet with them again. Again? Zhang Yu jumped up in fright. He said that we could bet with him anytime. No, Zhang Jinji said. He did say that, but we. I'll bring people over, Zhang Jinji said. Everyone in the work studio was shocked. Zhang Jinji was going to bring the pro players from the team over? Was Lord Grimm really so strong that the pro team needed to come out? Zhang Yu immediately lit up with excitement. This time, they would most certainly win. He immediately thought, if Lord Grimm and the others were so strong that even tyranny wasn't able to bring them down, then what were they doing in the 10th server? They could just enter directly as a pro team and slaughter their way to become champions. When? Zhang Yu excitedly asked. In 2 days, Zhang Jinji said. Okay, Zhang Yu immediately replied and went to contact Lord Grimm. He agreed. He quickly received a reply. Good, I'll be going off then. Zhang Jinji nodded his head and then left. The match had ended quickly. It hadn't even been 10 when Zhang Jinji returned to the team and saw that the lights were still on in the practice room. Zhang Jinji walked over and saw Han Wenqing sitting in front of a computer, conducting a conventional practice with his Desert Dust. Han Wenqing had his headphones on and was completely focused. The only sounds that could be heard in the practice room were the sounds of his keyboard tapping and mouse clicking. Zhang Jinji quietly walked over behind him, but Han Wenqing didn't notice. Their practice was only of the way done. Desert Dust was swift running on the platform. He shook to avoid incoming arrows and then jumped over a deep trench and then rolled, dodged, and punched 4 floating balls. There was no longer a road in front of the platform, there were only a floating, moving rocks of different sizes. Desert Dust didn't hesitate and directly jumped and landed on top of a floating rock. Without stopping, he continued jumping. Onto the second, third, fourth. Desert Dust continued to rush forward, quickly jumping forward, enough to make others gasp in amazement. But Zhang Jinji knew that things weren't going that well. Desert Dust's jumping rhythm had already gone awry. The problem might not have been from the jumping, but from the previous of the practice. The slight mistimings from then might have finally taken its form here. Not enough time, Zhang Jinji silently said to himself. Desert Dust landed on another rock, but this time, he had to stop jumping because there were no more rocks for him to jump onto. He had to stand on the rock and wait for a bit. But Han Wenqing continued to move forward following his style, aggressive and fearless. However, the rock he was jumping towards was off and his character brushed right past it. Han Wenqing angrily tapped his keyboard. He should have already known the outcome. Desert Dust fell and the screen turned black. The practice hadn't been completed yet, but a progress bar and time record appeared as well as the reflection of Zhang Jinji, who was behind him. Han Wenqing turned his head, but Zhang Jinji didn't say anything. This wasn't his first time seeing this. Han Wenqing, the king of fighting, Desert Dust. He had lost 3 times, but never gave up. Finally, in the 4th season of Glory, he defeated the previously undefeated Yi Chu and Team Excellent Era. He had personally buried the reign of Excellent Era and became a legendary top-tier god. However, from the start of his career till now, his reaction speed and hand speed had already declined greatly. The previous drill had all kinds of obstructions that required the user to attack, move, dodge, roll, jump, etc. to overcome. It was a drill that tested everything. It wasn't that Han Wenqing wasn't able to complete the drill, but rather it was just that he was no longer able to reach his previous record. Han Wenqing was still fighting against aging. He knew he wasn't able to jump onto that rock anymore, but he still went ahead and did it. Because of this, Zhang Jinji couldn't say anything to comfort him. Even more so, Han Wenqing didn't need any comforting words. Han Wenqing didn't need to do any explaining to Zhang Jinji because he only turned around. How'd it go? Han Wenqing asked. He knew what Zhang Jinji had gone to do in the afternoon. We lost, Zhang Jinji said. Lost? Han Wenqing's mood slid down. He might not be in the best condition of his career, but his stern eyes remained the same. The opponent's strength far exceeded my expectations. How strong? Pro level, Zhang Jinji said. What a joke. Pro level players going to that server to play? I went too. Let me see the recording, Han Wenqing said. Zhang Jinji contacted Zhang Yu and had him send the recording. The recording began to play. There was nothing to look at on Tyrannical Ambition's side, so Han Wenqing put the camera directly onto their opponents and then saw 0 kills fall into the river of lava. What is this? How'd you guys lose to this type of opponent? Han Wenqing was clearly angry. That person can be ignored, Zhang Jinji said. Han Wenking continued to watch. The fight in the middle of the river of lava unfolded. The movements and tactics of the two sides were all common knowledge for the experienced Han Wenking. He watched up until Lord Grimm used aerial fire in midair to dodge the combined assault Zhang Jinji had put in order. Unspecialized? His speed is quite good, Han Wenking said. Zhang Jinji knew that Han Wenking was talking about Lord Grimm's reaction speed and hand speed. Han Wenking rarely praised anyone, so his quite good remark was a very high appraisal. And then flowing trees sword slash. Han Wenking even paused the video there and replayed it 3 times. Zhang Jinji didn't say anything. The most astonishing part of the battle occurred right here. This type of movement, even Han Wenking had no words. However, this was just a video recording. Even though this person was able to do this, how many times could he do it successfully? Was it real skill, or was it luck? The answer couldn't be found just from this. This movement truly was god level, but to immediately view this player as a god level player would be too careless. Zhang Jinji understood this and Han Wenking obviously did too, which was why he watched it 3 times before continuing. And then the 4 players were repeatedly thrown into the river of lava. The more Han Wenking watched, the angrier he became. He closed the video. There was nothing else to see. The outcome was obvious. Forcing the 4 players to stay in the river of lava, there was nothing amazing that was needed to do that. Flowing Tree didn't say anything during the fight, but before it, he was very talkative. "What are you trying to say?" Han Wenking said. Zhang Jinji didn't definitively conclude anything. He just added, Lord Grimm's weapon is completely suitable to unspecialized characters. It's a weapon that allows the class to be viable. Cleansing Mist might not have done anything eye-catching, but you can see her extremely high-level knowledge of tactics and her ability to coordinate with the team, especially with Lord Grimm. Even with all this, you guys lost a bit too badly, no? It was my mistake, Zhang Jinji replied. Chapter 243, Rescuing Steamed Bun. Han Wenking opened up the recording he had just closed. This time, the camera was focused on Lord Grimm. He fast-forwarded several places and only stopped to carefully look when Lord Grimm switched weapon forms. The camera could be moved freely and zoomed in. The different forms of Lord Grimm's myriad manifestation umbrella were obvious at a glance. Unprecedented, Han Wenking said. He had seen all kinds of weird equipment and play styles, but he had never even heard of a weapon like the myriad manifestation umbrella. This type of weapon shouldn't have appeared in the new server. Zhang Yu discussed this with me. He had suspected that someone from a club was testing this silver weapon, but after seeing Lord Grimm's attitude in-game, it doesn't appear to be so, Zhang Jinji said. Then what do you think? Han Wenking asked. I think we need to take another step in order to gather more information, Zhang Jinji said. You've already come to a conclusion, right? Han Wenking said. Zhang Jinji didn't say anything. This weapon was clearly made for an unspecialized to use. However, possessing this type of weapon only resolves half of the problems that an unspecialized has. Besides having a strong character, the person controlling it must be skilled as well, Han Wenking said. At present, who do you think is the most suitable for playing an unspecialized? Without a doubt, Yu Wenzhou. He's good overall, and even though his hand speed isn't that good, he should be more than good enough to support his team with this class, Han Wenking said. Zhang Jinji was somewhat startled, but after thinking about it some more, he felt like it made sense. Flowing Tree was truly too similar to Huang Shaoshan, so it wouldn't be surprising if he was with Yu Wenzhou. Testing the silver weapon could be one of Club Blue Rain's goals, but from the guild leader's reports, Lord Grimm is on every day for a very long time, and it doesn't seem like anyone is substituting in for him. Whether it was Yu Wenzhou or anyone in the alliance, no one had that kind of time on their hands. In reality, there's one other person. Zhang Jinji was unable to resist giving his uncertain conclusion. Are you saying Yi Chu? Han Wenking suddenly laughed coldly when he said this name. He's already been kicked out of the alliance. Why would he appear again? Yi Chu's retirement made many fans surprised and sad, but Han Wenking felt disdainful instead. Coward. This was the comment that Han Wenking gave when news of Yi Chu's retirement came. Zhang Jinji felt that, underneath the disdain, Han Wenqing was probably also hiding a bit of unwillingness and loneliness. Even though right now there were a few competitors who wouldn't lose to Yi Chu right now, Yi Chu was special. The number of times the two had fought was also a record in the Glory Alliance. What plan did you come up with? Han Wenqing continued to stay on task. I set up another appointment for a match. I was thinking about bringing a few team members to come over, Zhang Jinji said. Oh, what accounts do you have on hand? Han Wenqing asked. There's a striker. I can go and take a look, Han Wenqing said. His gaze continued to stay on Lord Grimm in the recording. Even though the most brilliant play had been enacted by Flowing Tree, Han Wenqing and Zhang Jinji's main focus was still on Lord Grimm's Unspecialized. In-game. They had unexpectedly lost the match, so Cold Knight had to prepare the materials. The materials they had bitterly gathered up were taken away by Lord Grimm. He felt even worse than Zhang Yu did. However, he was quickly told that Zhang Jinji was preparing to bring the pro team over, which brought his confidence back up. However, he still had to gather the materials for the new bets. Cold Knight sent players over to the market, while telling those running dungeons to gather up the materials. As a result, he didn't have time to waste on searching and pursuing Lord Grimm. Yi Shu and Su Mucheng were residing in a small town. Steamed Bun Invasion, on the other hand, was in Kanji City and was being watched by who knows how many people. As soon as Steamed Bun Invasion left the city, there were many people there who were waiting to welcome him. Come out a bit more. A bit more, some were silently thinking in their heads. Right now, Steamed Bun Invasion was too close to the safe area. He just had to take a few steps and he'd be safe. In the end, Steamed Bun Invasion only walked a bit forward and marched left and right 2 steps. He laughed out loud, ha 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 ha, you noobs. Did you really think I'd fall for your trap? After saying this, he walked back into the city. Everyone there spat blood and fury, but what could they do? If there were too few people, they wouldn't be able to stop him, too many people and it'd be like now. Even a blind person could tell something wasn't right. Senior, what do I do? I can't go out. Steamed Bun Invasion appeared arrogant, but he had secretly gone and asked Yi Shu for help. He had only been able to notice something was off because of Yi Shu's warnings. We're coming to get you. When things become messy, squeeze your way out of there, Yi Shu directed. Gotcha. Steamed Bun Invasion set up a vendor booth inside of the city. He ran dungeons every day and blue equipment often dropped. The way their parties worked was that if no one needed the item, then whoever wanted it could have it. Because of this, Steamed Bun Invasion picked up quite a few items. Right now, he was selling them under the name, the greatest items in the universe. The players outside could only grind their teeth and wait. This guy was just standing there loftily, mocking them. He was even chatting happily with the nearby players. Yi Shu and Su Mucheng left the small town and arrived outside of the city. Without saying a word, they began their rescue operation. Yi Shu's Unspecialized and Su Mucheng's Cleansing Mist jumped out into the open and each fired anti-tank missiles towards the players who were waiting outside of the city. Lord Grimm, everyone immediately began counter-attacking amidst the smoke, but the two didn't move closer and stayed on the outside, firing from afar. Peeking outside of the city walls was a very common occurrence. Many battles could take place at once. In the arena, winning or losing would only account for points and statistics. Apart from this, there weren't any rewards or losses, which was why revenge matches usually weren't decided within the arena, but rather outside of the city walls. Whoever died could come out and fight once again. At this moment, there were 2 players dueling, but compared to Yi Shu and Su Mucheng's battle, their match was nothing. Over there were 2 players sneak attacking a group of 100. Even more so, it was done by the famous Lord Grimm, which immediately caught their attention. The two decided to stop fighting and first, watch the commotion before continuing. This type of commotion was the opportunity Yi Shu was giving to Steamed Bun Invasion. Many players in the city had gotten the news and came to watch. Steamed Bun Invasion received Yi Shu's message and followed the plan. He had even incited the 2 vendors next to him and ran out of the city together with them. The players, who were watching Steamed Bun Invasion, saw him and 2 others suddenly mix into the crowd. After that, which one was Steamed Bun Invasion? They didn't know. They just didn't know. The players who were watching pursued, looking madly into it. In glory, there wasn't a mark that you could put on a player's ID and players couldn't do a bird's eye view. In this type of crowd, there were way too many players and the IDs were all in a jumbled mess. There was no way to tell who was who. At this moment, they were all cursing at Glory's setup. Steamed Bun Invasion hid in the crowd and moved towards the outside while looking around, but the crowd also made it difficult for Steamed Bun Invasion to figure out where he was going. Finally, Steamed Bun Invasion saw the guild players fighting with Lord Grim and Cleansing Mist in the distance. The two were fighting back to back, shooting around. The guild players were rushing from every direction to surround them and were currently contracting. Senior, you've been surrounded. Steamed Bun Invasion was about to come help. Oh, you got out? Okay, head towards an empty place. We'll be following closely behind, Yi Shu replied. Chapter 244, Destroying Their Confidence. The guild members thought that they had Lord Grim and Cleansing Mist under control as their encirclement was going smoothly, but at this moment, Yi Shu received Steamed Bun Invasion's report of his successful exit out of the city. Let's go, Yi Shu said. Okay, Su Mucheng replied. Her Cleansing Mist flipped her hands and used an aerial fire, flying backwards along the flat ground. Yi Shu's Lord Grim used a shadow clone technique. His real body was in front, waiting for her to arrive. The guild members attacked from two sides and were currently forming a pocket. Sword auras flashed, bullets flew, and magic danced in the air in an attempt to block them. Ha ha, if you hadn't gone and grouped up, then it'd have been better, Yi Shu said. The incoming missiles flew past the two of them. The occasional hits didn't affect their movements too much. As a result, the missiles flew from the left side to the right side and from the right side to the left side. Bang, Su Mucheng dubbed the sounds for them. In the end, the scene that they had been waiting for never arrived. The guild members were unorganized, spreading out like scattered sand last night, and all of them learned about the importance of being a group now. Even though they wouldn't obey each other's orders, they were at least working together. After partying up, allies wouldn't take damage, so even if magic and explosions enveloped both sides, none of them would take damage. Lame, Su Mucheng mumbled. She turned her cannon and fired towards the players who attempted to block her. Because they were trying to block two of them, the three players who had come forward to face them, ducked to avoid the attack. However, Lord Grim rushed forward and blasted them away with a falling flower palm. The players on the left and right had been planning on doing a pincer attack, but one of them was grabbed and flung back with a back throw. The grabbed player was thrown down onto the ground, and by the time they returned to their positions, Lord Grim was already gone. There was a flash and Cleansing Mist chased after him with an aerial fire. Their aerial fires connected, and the two flew back some distance. To chase or not to chase? The guild members immediately began thinking. Should they silently return back to the city in shame, or should they clench their teeth and chase them non-stop? The orders quickly came. The final decision was to dispatch a few players to watch where they were going. Thus, a few players jumped out from the main army and chased after Lord Grim and Cleansing Mist. They wouldn't chase too closely. They weren't planning on fighting because they knew that fighting them would only result in their deaths. Find out where they were. That was the order their guilds had given them. They often knew where they were, but what was the point? The two showed up on their own. They came and then left, but their orders were still to pinpoint their locations. The players there didn't know how to describe their current feelings. Doing something over and over again was scary. Doing something that they didn't know if there would be any gain was even scarier. The guild members wished that it would end soon, but in reality, their wishes didn't come true. The players, who went to understand their whereabouts, followed Lord Grim and Cleansing Mist to a small village outside of Kanji City. Here, they saw the two meet up with Steamed Bun Invasion. They immediately reported the news and the guilds would revise their strategy according to the news, but before they were able to come up with a plan, Lord Grim's group took the initiative. In the small village, the players were killed by an evil trick while searching for Lord Grim. Yi Shu's group had hidden themselves and then ambushed them when they got into their range. Lord Grim's whereabouts were once again unknown. Reports of their whereabouts had been sent many times, but there was no progress among the guilds. This truly did make them unhappy and exhausted. Reports from Line Canyon said that Lord Grimm's group had appeared. The guards at the entrances had been killed. They're going to Line Canyon now? It's not 12 yet. Are they going to train there for a bit first? Or are they preparing to receive the 2 members who aren't on yet? Someone said. As a result, they began a great search in Line Canyon. Another message came: a player in Fire Forest had been killed. The guild players were about to go crazy. Currently, their elites were level 33, so of course they would begin looking out for the wild boss Fire Witch Cashew. Besides running the dungeons, a portion of the elites would come here to level and also look to see if the wild boss had spawned. They really had found a boss. Unfortunately, it wasn't the Fire Witch boss, but the Lord Grimm boss. The Lord Grimm boss was very mighty. He could frontal assault, sneak attack, and flank. His aggro range was also extremely large and could wander around anywhere. He would automatically find players and then start attacking them. Finding wild bosses were activities guilds did on their own. They wouldn't work together and wouldn't share the rewards. Only when their own guild members split up and looked, would they have the greatest probability of finding a boss. After the various small groups in Fire Forest received the news, they immediately contacted each other and began to party up. This made it easier for Lord Grimm. After only a short while, new reports came in. It was no longer 2 or 3 players dying, an entire party had been killed. At that time, the team had been heading towards a place in the forest to converge. Unfortunately, they coincidentally bumped into Lord Grimm and were immediately sent to converge at the city. Fire Forest had already turned into a terror forest filled with death and misery. In this type of place, fleeing is the best option. The elites began to evacuate from the forest. They were the future of their guilds and were delicate flowers that their guilds had worked hard to cultivate. They couldn't let themselves be ravaged by Lord Grimm. The big guilds dispatched their troops in preparation for storming Fire Forest. In all of their gaming experiences, they had never encountered an opponent like Lord Grimm. As guilds, they would often say, "If we see you, you're dead," to threaten others. But for their current opponents, they were the ones dying. Headaches. Besides headaches, there were only more headaches. From yesterday until now, they had killed Softmiss twice and Steamed Bun Invasion once, which comforted them a little, but compared to the sacrifices of their elites, their achievements were unable to close their injuries. If these casualties hadn't happened, then they wouldn't have been so bitter. They might even be happy. Look, even though we haven't killed Lord Grimm, our running around has controlled their movements and their leveling speed has slowed. Our goal has been achieved. This was true to a certain extent. The leveling speed of Yishu's group couldn't compare to their previous speed. Their movements were being limited. What usually took them 10 minutes, now took them 20 or maybe even more time. This was why Yishu chose to actively hunt them down. They couldn't kill everyone, but they could hurt these guilds' confidence and determination. Because, in reality, all the guilds were still each other's enemies. Those who hadn't provoked him wouldn't be touched. Yishu would only attack the ones who were causing trouble. These elites would be dropping in levels, while the other guilds were still leveling up because they hadn't participated in this movement. These guilds' casualties made them feel very unhappy about those other guilds who weren't participating. Because of this, these guilds would begin to worry about their own development. Could they continue chasing after them like this with confidence? Chapter 245, A Hidden Agenda. The several guilds held hesitation and doubt in their hearts, they still continued with their actions. Over 100 players had already stormed into Fire Forest. Maps and glory were huge. 100 players sounded like a lot, but such an amount wouldn't nearly be enough to cover the entire leveling area. They didn't dare to underestimate Lord Grimm's group. When the more than 100 players rushed in, they formed parties of 3 to 5, keeping close to each other. If they met Lord Grimm, they could easily group together. Only after forming this type of arrangement did they feel safe enough to begin looking around Fire Forest for movements. None of them were new to the game. All of the players that had been leveling in Fire Forest originally were undoubtedly the 10th server's top players. These type of characters were practically raised by the guilds. Seeing that these other players were focused on leveling, the pursuers bitterly looked at them in envy. At the same time, they were very unhappy that these guild members were just sitting there and enjoying the fruits of their hard work. Where's Lord Grim? The pursuers hadn't found Lord Grim's whereabouts and were grumbling left and right at their teammates. We haven't found him, but at least that means that he's trying to hide from us and doesn't feel safe leveling. Our goal has been reached in the end, no? Chen Yahui said to pacify everyone's worried feelings. He himself wasn't worried at all. This was the type of situation that he wanted to see. He even had thoughts of singing a song to honor the scene in front of him. The big guilds all suffered some damage and Yichu's progress had been slowed. These 2 wins were too perfect for him. There isn't even a place for him to level safely. What is he trying to accomplish by staying online? He might as well just log out, someone said. If Lord Grim went offline, they wouldn't have to work as hard and could happily level up. But this guy refused to leave, forcing them to keep on searching and asking for his whereabouts. Let's not waste our time. We should fight monsters while looking, someone suggested. As a result, the over 100 soldiers hunted down goblins together in Fire Forest. However, with so many players, each player only got a handful of experience. And as for Yishu's group, they were still in Fire Forest. Fire Forest's terrain was perfect for hiding and Yishu had been thinking of using the terrain to hunt down these over 100 players, but after seeing their formation, he knew that hunting them down was too unrealistic. They were still a group of veterans. Now that they understood his skill level, they wouldn't leave an opening for him to use. Should we leave? Su Mucheng asked. There's no hurry, Yishu said, while attacking nearby monsters. With only 3 players in their party, the amount of experience gained from killing monsters was normal, so their efficiency was much higher than that of the 100-player army. The 3 fought while moving. They were neither too far, nor too close to the army, they were maintaining a distance that wouldn't expose them, but also let them observe their advances from time to time. After seeing the enemies out of the corner of his eyes, figuring out how much time it would take for the enemies to notice them wasn't difficult for Yishu. This was also the reason why he was so good at escaping from pursuers. And, just like this, they toured around Fire Forest. The army however forced them to take a detour at times. Do you have some sort of plan in mind? Su Mucheng asked Yishu. I want to see if the Fire Witch is here. It shouldn't be up yet, no? Yeah, but it should be soon, Yishu said. Wild boss kills could be looked up on the leaderboards. Currently, the Fire Witch had last been killed by them a few days ago. The current elites of the big guilds entered the level 33 range and were already coming to the Fire Forest to level. A second kill hadn't been recorded yet, which meant that the Fire Witch Cashew hadn't respawned since her last death. Bosses spawned 3 times every week. It was possible that one wouldn't spawn for 4 or 5 days, but it was relatively rare. However, as long as the boss hadn't been killed 3 times in a week, it would definitely respawn. This meant that today, on the last day of the week, even if it was on the last second, it had to spawn for its 2nd or 3rd time. Of course, if it hadn't been killed before, then another one wouldn't just spawn. At this moment, it was already nighttime on Sunday. Since the Fire Witch Cashew hadn't spawned for so many days, it would have to spawn sometime soon. The 3 continued to level while looking around. Besides this, Yishu paid close attention to those other players who were leveling as well. Their efforts hadn't been wasted. Yishu finally noticed something. Over here, Yishu suddenly turned. What is it? Follow those 2 players, Yishu said. Su Mucheng and Steamed Bun Invasion moved forward and looked. They saw the 2 players Yishu was talking about and saw that the 2 players had the same guild tag. They weren't leveling in the same spot, but they were both heading in the same direction. The boss spawned, Su Mucheng realized. These guilds probably discovered the Fire Witch and were currently sending players over there. Most likely, Yishu said. The 3 stopped attacking monsters and followed closely behind those 2 players. Finally, when they had reached the depths of Fire Forest, Yishu's group saw a great blaze up ahead. A total of 6 players were surrounding the Fire Witch Cashew. They were players from the guild Parade. Among them were those 2 players that they had been following. Parade was also one of the clubs in the Glory Alliance. They were an extremely mediocre team and had a guild that they backed, just like every other club there. Even though they couldn't compare to the 3 great guilds, they were still much better than the non-backed casual guilds. After all, every team had a loyal fanbase. When these fans chose a guild, many of them chose the club that they supported. Normal guilds didn't have this type of advantage. Steamed Bun Invasion looked and felt somewhat familiar with this type of situation. He immediately began chattering, I know. When they're about to kill the boss, we jump out, kill them, and then the boss will be ours. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha, you learn so quickly, Yishu said. Of course, Steamed Bun Invasion gleefully commented. But we won't be doing that this time. What? This time, we'll be true spectators, Yishu said. Oh. You two go and hide well. I'm going to take a look around, Yishu said. Lord Grim left them. Not long after, they heard shouts from within the woods, it's Lord Grim, he's over here. The forest began to liven up as more and more sounds of footsteps crushing leaves and branches could be heard. Lord Grim's figure quickly appeared in front of Su Mucheng and Steamed Bun Invasion's line of sight. Hurry! Hide, Yishu ordered. The team, who was fighting the boss, had already increased to 8 players now. However, they had noticed the situation. The sounds of footsteps meant that there were a lot of players heading towards them. The 8 players immediately began panicking. They had only just started attacking the boss. How'd they get found so easily? It was already too late to drive the boss away. Not long after, players began popping up. When these players arrived, they looked on in astonishment. The Fire Witch. Countless cries, that were filled with astonishment, were shouted out. It had been too unexpected. Everyone's attention turned to here. Where'd Lord Grim go? No one cared. Troops continued to arrive. They had originally planned on surrounding Lord Grim, but now they switched their targets to the Fire Witch Cashew as well as those 8 Parade Guild members, who were attacking her.